Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Newington Town Council regular meeting of November 10th at 7 p.m. If you would please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all.
Chris does not have the link.
Okay. Oh,
I'm here. I got in.
all right. Chris clearly has a bad connection, but he is here. Hopefully he can hear us better than we can hear him. We'll move on. The next item on our agenda is roll call. If you would please, James.
All right. Councilor Anest.
Here.
Councilor Braverman.
Here.
Councilor Petracco.
Here.
Councilor Camillo. Looks like none at this time. Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Mankey.
Here.
Councilor Minor.
Here.
Councilor Nagel.
Here.
Mayor Del Buono.
Here.
9 present, Mayor.
Thank you. Is
Sorry,
Councilor
8
Camillo?
present. Sorry, 8
Yeah.
present.
Okay. I'm trying to see if he's joined us yet. I don't see him. I did just text him to see if he's joining. All right, I apologize for that. We just like to make sure everybody has access, making sure there's no issue with that. The next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Annis, did you have something?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Now I'm having issues. I would like to move introduction of Renata Bertatti and the report on stolen cars and car brakes up into the agenda. I don't know where you want to move them, but I would like to have those earlier so the staff doesn't have to stay and listen to the entire meeting.
All right, so if you're moving it, where would you like to move them?
How about before consideration of old business?
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Petracco. Any discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote to approve the agenda as recommended with the changes by Councilor Anist.
Councilor Anest.
Yes.
Councilor Braverman. Councilor Braverman.
Yes.
Councilor Petracco.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Mankey.
Tim, you're muted.
Yes.
Councilor Minor.
Yes.
Councilor Nagel.
Yes.
Mayor Del Buono.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. I'd like to thank everyone for your patience. It appears that we're having some internet connectivity issues this evening. People are in slow motion. So I'll thank you in advance for your patience with all of this. All right, we're going to move on. The next item on our agenda is awards and proclamations. And we do have one this evening. I'm pleased we have a proclamation on 2020 Public Health Thank You Day. And my understanding is that Charles Brown is here from CCHD. Charles, are you there?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'm here.
Welcome. I understand there may be some other folks with you. If you wouldn't mind going ahead and introducing who you have with you this evening.
Certainly, I have somebody who's very familiar to the town council and the town, former Mayor Roy Zatarian, who's now a member of our Board of Health. I also have 2 members of our staff that are very involved in Newington and our support of Newington, Nick Palermo and Jonathan Butler.
Wonderful. Welcome, everyone. Mayor Z, good to see you back in our meetings. All right, I'm going to go
Well,
ahead
I
and read
wish
the
I could say
proclamation.
it's good to be back.
You're here for a good reason. We like to see you for those things.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'll get into that later.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation into the record, and then we can talk more about it. Whereas the American Public Health Association has nationally proclaimed November 23rd, 2020 as Public Health Thank You Day. And whereas this provides the town an opportunity to recognize the public health workers who labor tirelessly every day to make our communities safer and healthier, be it tracking infectious disease outbreaks, mass influenza vaccinations, preparing for national disasters, or assuring safe food and drinking water. And whereas the town of Newington, together with its neighboring towns of Berlin, Rocky Hill, and Wethersfield, receives high-quality public health service through its regional health department, the Central Connecticut Health District, now in its 25th year of service. And whereas the Director of Health and his staff have provided extraordinary assistance to town leadership, municipal departments, first responders, our school district, local businesses, and the public in navigating the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas this special day also provides us an opportunity to thank them, not only for what they do, but for the dedication, commitment, skills, and empathy they bring to these efforts. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Beth Del Buono, and the Newington Town Council do hereby proclaim November 23rd, 2020 as Public Health Thank You Day. In Newington, Connecticut, I encourage all our citizens to join me in this celebration and in acknowledging the critical role our public health workers play in prevention and in helping our community to achieve and maintain good health, particularly during this extraordinary and challenging time. Signed this 10th day of November, 2020, Beth Del Buono, Mayor. All right, so we have thank you. Seconded by Councilor Braverman, and I'll do a roll call vote on the proclamation, please.
Councilor Ennis,
Yes.
Councilor Braverman,
Yes.
Councilor Bedrejko,
Yes.
Councilor Donahue,
Yes.
Councilor Mankey,
Yes.
Councilor Minor, I see him, but he's still muted. You there, Chris?
I just came back.
Okay. Are you in favor of the proclamation?
Yes.
Councilor Nagel
Yes.
and Mayor Del Buono.
Yes,
8-0, Mayor.
thank you. I'm going to open it up to council comment on the proclamation. So councilors, let me just pull up my window so I can see your hands. Councilor Minor, you're first.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I think this year of any year is probably the most reason for this proclamation, and thank you. Although Charles and I have gone back and forth, I completely respect his efforts and that of his entire staff and thank them for everything they do. These are uncharted waters that we're in, and I think that they are day by day getting better and better at how and what we do to try to handle this pandemic. So thank you again.
Thank you, Councilor Minor. Next is Councilor Mankey.
I simply want to add my congratulations and my thank you for all these folks, that these folks do for us. It's as Councilor Minor said, it's not an easy task these days. And it's this pandemic is not their fault, although sometimes we seem to think it is. They're doing the best they can to keep us all safe and keep us all our community thriving. And I appreciate all their efforts. I know it's not an easy task, and it must be a lot of sleepless nights, but I do appreciate their efforts, as I think the whole town does.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilor Mankey. Deputy Mayor Bedrejko.
Yes, I'd like to echo my gratitude for the work of the public health associations. And again, this year in particular, there hasn't been a script for how you have managed this situation. It's the first time and you were learning as you were trying to advise us and teach us. And certainly we all appreciate it, and we've learned from you, and I think we're healthier and safer as a community because of the work that you've done. But I also, I don't think we should take for granted in normal times what public health associations have done for us. Just keeping, and you're in the background all the time, but yet you are keeping us as a community safe, even in un-COVID related times. So I think we owe you a hearty hurrah for all you've done this year, but also all you continue to do the past and certainly in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilor Nagel.
I'd like to add my thank you also for all that you and your staff and those that are on the health district representing the different towns in the area for all the unsung hero work that you do continuously, as others have said, not only during COVID, but also during what is so-called normal times. We appreciate you every day. While there's a thank you day, it's a thank you for every day for all you do. And my wife will be joining you on the board soon.
Thank you, Councilor Nagel. All right, I don't see any other hands up, so I'm going to take a chance at speaking as well. Charles, we spoke last night. You were a guest on our Talk to the Mayor show last night, so I've already made some comments, but I just wanted to say, poor Charles is getting a bad rap. He's unfortunately always seems to be the bearer of bad news for us in these weird times. So he is kind of in the role of having to be the bad guy and tell us what we need to restrict or not do, unfortunately, right now. But, I said this to him last night. I need to validate him because truthfully, all along, the advice he's given us, I think, has been right. And every time he warns us that something could happen if we don't listen or if things get loosened up, he's been right about that too, unfortunately. So here we are entering into kind of a spike in the COVID action. And I'm so grateful that Charles and his staff and the board members are here to help us navigate and help us figure out those next steps that we need to take to best keep our community safe. And I can't say enough how grateful I am to all of the input you've given us so far. And I look forward to the continued input from all of you. I really do appreciate it. I think we all do. So with that, I'll open it up to those members that are here being honored. If any of you would like to speak.
Well, I'll turn it over to Roy if he would like to say something.
Okay.
Yes, if I may, Mayor Beth. First of all, on behalf of the Central Connecticut Health District Board, I'd like to thank you and the council for this statement of appreciation for the efforts that the Health District staff has been putting forth. These folks are the boots on the ground. They're in the field. They're informing. They're monitoring as necessary. They're enforcing. Charlie remains in constant contact with the town managers and school superintendents to make sure the necessary measures are in place. We all have to admit, situation, judging from the infection and hospitalization numbers, is going to get worse before it gets better. So it's up to all of us to listen to science and, most importantly, listen to the health district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Z. Feels good to say that again. Anyone else?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
I would just like to really echo our appreciation for the town for allowing us to really serve the residents of your community, by providing these public health services every day, both in the midst of a pandemic and even outside of that. I'm really very proud to have two of the best members of my staff here tonight with Jonathan Butler, who's our emergency preparedness coordinator, and Nicholas Palermo, who is a health inspector on the cusp of becoming a registered sanitarian. They are two of the hardest workers that I have on my staff. They go out there and they get the mission done. Jonathan has been instrumental in the plans and assuring that COVID-19 is really, that we're considering everything that we need to and starting to plan for things like the mass vaccination when we get vaccine out. Nick really can't say enough about how hard he's working every single day out there, doing the inspections of the restaurants, making sure that each and every resident and visitor to Newington is safe in the things that they do when they come to eat, when they're going out to play. Definitely one of our stars within our organization. So I can't say thank you enough to them for actually being here tonight and for everything that they do every day to keep y'all safe.
Wonderful. Thank you both. Very high accolades. Would either of you, Jonathan or Nicholas, like to say anything?
I just want to thank, I've worked with Stephen and Keith the most on just LEPC, and thank you for all the help Newington's gave us. So, I know certain things are impractical, and just making them practical and then executing missions is generally the objective. So, thank you guys.
Thank you.
And just say thank you as well. Everyone that we've worked with has been super cooperative with all of the changes and demands and everything that's come about, and everything's gone smooth as far as working together with the community. So very grateful for that.
Great, thank you. Gail, you touched on this earlier, but our CCHD guys, you help us, we're all focused on COVID, obviously, but outside of COVID, you do so many things that every year when you do your presentation to us, it like triggers it for me, all the things that you do. So a lot of your asthma prevention work and the lead poisoning stuff that you do, the bike helmets, the plenty of clinics. And really, I could go on, but we need to remember that our health department is here for us all the time in many ways, not just with COVID. We just especially appreciate you with that. But really, thank you for everything. We do appreciate you all. All right. We are going to move on to the next item on our agenda. Thank you guys for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
The next item is public participation.
Mayor,
Yes.
just before we get into that, just for the record, Mike Camillo entered the meeting at 7:10 p.m.
Wonderful. Thank you, James. Welcome, Mike. All right, we're going to move on to public participation, and we have a few people in our waiting room. And let's see, the first one, I believe, is Miss Mazzacoli. Oh, hold on, Sue. I clicked too fast. You're going to have to unmute again. There we go.
Hi, Sue Mazzacoli, 149 Harris Drive. I would like to be one of the people who also says thank you to Charles Brown and his staff. And of course, all the volunteer members on that committee or commission, not sure exactly what you call it. Most of all, because I am a senior, I'm 68. I am not in the best health condition. I have an autoimmune disease. So I was home from March to June, never left the house once. Slowly have been leaving the house, and now it looks like I'm gonna have to go back. But I do wanna thank you. I really appreciate it. And I have watched you, Charles, on the Talk to the Mayor. So I appreciate all the information you shared there too. And of course, it was nice to see Roy again. The reason I'm calling, two things. The mayor's picture. When you entered the old town hall, the first thing you saw, or at least I saw, were all the former mayor's pictures on the wall. I called last week. I did call the town manager's office. Somebody picked up, a very nice woman, and I said to her, do you know what they're going to do with the pictures? She says, oh, I have a couple of them here in my office, but let me get back to you on that. Well, I didn't hear back, so I'm kind of hoping that by my bringing this up again, that somebody could follow through with that. If they're not going to be hung up on the wall, if they're just going to, be put in a closet and maybe the names on the honor wall that you've talked about in the past, then I would appreciate it if the families could maybe get the pictures back. Okay, the second thing I want to bring up is the website. I thank your town clerk over and over for making it so much easier for me to get onto these meetings through Zoom. Most of the time, frankly, though, I watch it on YouTube because I don't really have anything to contribute. and it's just easier to watch it on YouTube. But I've taught so many people, thanks to Rose Lyons, who taught me how to go on the town clerk's website and look for the Zoom connection. But other than that, it would have been very, very difficult for me to find that page and that link. But it's very easy once you're there. The problem is getting there, and never mind all the other departments. It is so cumbersome, our website. It really needs to be updated and used, and definitely user-friendly. And right now it just is not. So I actually posted something on Facebook, What Else Is New? And in just a short couple hours, I got 72 responses from people. Only one person disagreed with me. So I'm hoping, I know 72 people compared to our population in Newington is not a lot, but I do think it's something that really needs to be looked at. So I'm requesting that. As far as, being able to watch on YouTube, I also see a lot of other meetings that I didn't even know exist. So thank you for those connections. So the website does work well in connecting people to YouTube. It does work well connecting people to Zoom. However, getting to those points so that you can connect are very cumbersome. So I did watch the naming committee that I didn't even know existed. They're the ones who get together and they name the town streets or buildings. And I did watch that meeting on YouTube, and I was very pleased to see that there will be a person's name brought up. I'm not going to mention the name yet because I'm sure you haven't all discussed it yet, but will be voted on by the town council tonight. And I'm very pleased to see that Garfield Street will be renamed in honor of a very, very special person to our town. Also, I just want to end it by saying Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans, and thank you for your service. I truly thank Parks and Rec for their trailer. My dad's name is up on there. I'm so proud to see his name, and I will be visiting it in our town green. So thank you for that, and Happy Veterans Day, and thank you to all our veterans.
Thank you, Ms. Mazzacoli. Any other public participation? All right, I don't see any other hands up, so we'll move on to, did anyone receive any email correspondence? Any counselors? I did not.
Did not.
All right.
No.
Next is remarks by counselors on public participation. Any counselors that would like to respond? Deputy Mayor Bedrejko.
I just want to respond to Ms. Mazzacoli's comments on the website. I too have to agree that it's not intuitive on getting from the first page of the town website to the virtual meetings. If there's just some way, at least the virtual meetings should really be kind of right out front, and unless you're intimately aware of different town functions, you wouldn't think of going to the town clerk's page to access that. So if there was something that can be done to put it a little bit more upfront and user-friendly, I agree with Ms. Mazzacoli.
Thank you. Councilor Menke.
I would just comment on the public participation. Two comments. One, while the pictures of the mayors are important, and I agree they should be hung someplace, we also have those photos and the short biographies of all those who gave their lives, that lived in Newington in the various wars. And especially coming up on Veterans Day, it's important, I think, that those photos be displayed someplace. We shouldn't forget those people who gave the ultimate sacrifice so that we could sit here and enjoy a meeting or enjoy our town. But those photos also should be somewhere displayed. The mayors made contributions to the town, of course, but these people gave their ultimate sacrifice for our way of life, and I think that should be appreciated. And just the plan later on is not to rename any street. The plan is to dedicate a street. There's a subtlety there. We're not changing the name of a street. We're just dedicating a street.
Thank you, Councilor Menke. Any other council comment? All right, seeing none, I'll just quickly, Ms. Mazzacoli, you had asked about the mayor's pictures and Councilor Mankey with the veterans pictures and bios. I agree wholeheartedly that those need to be presented somewhere in the town hall, and just, the town hall is not quite finished yet, so we haven't been putting anything on the walls yet. So the town manager and I have spoken a few times about both of those items, and that the location is yet to be determined officially, but those are not going to sit in a closet. They will not go unused or forgotten. And so we are planning on hanging them in the town hall. It's just a matter of where at this point we will determine as the building progresses. Councilor Minor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm drawing a blank as to which town hall it was, but I was in one not too long ago that had digital displays of their war veterans from town that were constantly circulating. And I know we've done a phenomenal job on the AV package in relations with Mr. Boutat. That might be a consideration to do it that way. That it might be something to consider at least.
It's a great idea. Thank you for that. All right, I don't see any other hands up, so we're going to move on now to the two items that we moved ahead of old business. The first one is introduction of Renata, and I'm hoping I say it right, Bertati. All right, Mr. Chapman, would you like to introduce her to us?
I would. Renata is a veteran town planner from a number of towns that actually I worked in and she worked in, but we never crossed paths before. She's a Newington resident, and she comes here with good background, good credentials. And in the short time she's been here, which I think is a week now, or maybe just over a week, things are changing rapidly, and that's what we were looking for. So she is on tonight with us, and I told her to be prepared to kind of introduce herself. So the floor is yours, Renata.
Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you all members of the town council for giving me this really exciting and amazing opportunity to serve here as a town planner in the town that I also live in. It is pretty much a dream for a community planner to immerse herself in a community like this. So this is going to work out really well for me, and I'm very, very happy about it. As Keith has indicated, I have 15 plus years of experience in a planning field, planning profession. I started humble beginnings as a zoning officer for the town of Coventry. I worked as an assistant town planner in town of Windsor for a bit, in Manchester for a number of years as their senior planner. And lastly, just before coming here, I was a director of Department of Planning, Development and Enforcement for City of Meriden, and this department oversees essentially planning, building and housing divisions of the city. As I said, I live here. I live in a beautiful neighborhood. I love my physical neighbors, the ones that I know, and I'm really excited and happy and looking forward to meeting my other neighbors, the ones that I haven't had a chance to meet or speak with yet. So that's really that.
Wonderful. I understand I may be your neighbor up the street is what I hear. I live on Walsh Ave.
I don't know. I'm on Walsh.
Yeah, me too. I'm on Walsh, up by the ball field. So we'll have to get to know each other.
I have wonderful neighbors. Did I not say that?
We'll have to get to know each other if we see each other walking around. But welcome. It's so wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
Would any other councilors like to speak?
Just to say welcome and hope you'll make a great difference in our town. We're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Councilor Minor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just welcome you to this position, and I think it's fantastic to have somebody in your capacity be a resident who is living what we envision for our town to become, and look forward to many years of prosperous redevelopment re-expansion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Menke?
I would just also like to welcome you to the team. I think it's important that this is a team approach. And I would welcome you to our team. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Bedrejko?
Yeah, again, just welcome, Renata. And I think it's fantastic that you do live in the community, because what you do and what you accomplish and what your goals and vision are going to impact you and your family, as well as the residents of this town. So I'm sure you have a very vested interest in making sure that this town grows and develops in a very responsible way. Just a real quick question. What do you just have an immediate vision or goal, or what would you first like to accomplish?
Well, first I need to really understand the position of a community planner entails understanding what is it that community wants. You know, we have these plans, we have all kinds of opinions that are our own personal ones, but you can't build a community as a town planner. Like, that is a wrong approach to go by. I have to kind of get to know this community and really get behind of what is a line in POCD perhaps, and understand where they're coming from. There are certain things that I, as a resident, know that right now need to be looked at, such as, you know, our issues with redevelopment potential. Our economic development needs to be paid some attention to. So there are certain elements that, you know, procedurally I can easily identify and say we need to work on our zoning regs, we need to fix certain things. But the vision for a community really has to come from the community, and I'm just the vehicle for it.
Well, thank you very much. And our previous town planner was very accessible to those on the council and the community, and it sounds as if you're going to be very open as well. So thank you.
Councilor Annis, go ahead.
Thank you. Renata, welcome. I'm looking forward to working with you as not only as a counselor, but also as a liaison to TPZ, along with Deputy Mayor Bedrejko. I think it is such a plus to have a planner who's living in this town, where you're going to have the opportunity to see what your development, your redevelopment is going to have an effect, and also the consequences on the development and redevelopment on the traffic and having to navigate throughout the town. So I think that's such a plus to be living in this town. And I welcome you and thank you for coming to Newington.
Councilor Nagel?
I'd like to. Councilor Annis said what I was thinking of also, that it's so great to have someone who is experienced as you are, Renata, in town and close by in the neighborhood and immersed in the neighborhood, so that you know every day what Newington is like and what its personal needs are. And now you can also take your professional expertise and apply what us as the community see on a daily basis to the town in many other ways, including economic ways as well. So I wish you the best of luck. And every time I go up Wall, I'll make certain I wave as I do to the mayor. Thank you for being with us as the town planner, as well as the citizen of Newington.
Thank you, Councilor Nagel. All right. I have to tell you, Renata, Mr. Chapman has had nothing but wonderful things to say about you so far. So I'm really looking forward to working with you and getting to know you a little bit. So I'll keep an eye out for you in the neighborhood, okay?
Sure, please do.
All right. Take care and thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you all very much.
Our pleasure.
Welcome.
All right, folks, the next item on our agenda this evening is a report from the chief on the stolen cars and car break-ins. We all know there's been a bit of an increase in these events in our town. And so we had requested that the chief be with us to give us some more information about things and their efforts and what residents can do in this regard. So Chief, the floor is yours. Oh, Chief, you're muted.
Thank you for having me. I'm unmuted. I thought what I would do is I'll just briefly give a summary of the memo I sent to the town manager, and I know you folks received it as well. And then afterwards, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I can tell you, I mean, 35 years in law enforcement, I've never seen such a drastic increase in crime over such a short period of time. And the comparisons I made were 2019 to date, which was November 1st, compared that to 2020, November 1st. And in stolen cars, we've seen a 92% increase. And in car breaks, we've seen a 69% increase. So those are pretty substantial increases. And I can tell you that the offenders, they're primarily juveniles or young adults, and who travel into town to steal. They travel into town with stolen cars for the purposes of stealing more cars. And it really started off during the overnight hours, but now we're seeing it more in the daylight hours. Now that the cold weather is coming and people are warming up their cars in the morning, we're seeing cars being stolen from driveways when people warm up their cars, have it running in the driveway unattended. We had one the other day where it was actually 11:30 in the morning. So something that we saw primarily during the overnight hours is now stretched into the daylight hours. So it's just at all hours at this point, as opposed to when it was just primarily overnight. They're being stolen. They're used to commit more crimes, burglaries, larcenies, armed robberies, and shootings. We had a case where an officer on the midnight shift interrupted a burglary at one of the gas station's convenience stores. It was a stolen vehicle, and he interrupted it, tried to stop the car, and the car took off. And you know, you've heard me talk about this before. We have a very restrictive pursuit policy that is mandated by the state of Connecticut, which essentially prohibits us for chasing for property crimes, motor vehicle violations. So, and I'll get back to that a little further. But, you know, we've made countless efforts to stop the cars to no avail. We have a very active midnight shift. We have an excellent midnight shift. We have some young officers that are very enthusiastic, very motivated. And we have some really good veterans that work with them. So they're out there nightly in the residential areas, coming across suspicious vehicles on their own, as well as responding to calls from residents that report suspicious cars, make that attempt to stop the car, and the car takes off. And then obviously we're just letting them go, and we're not chasing. I have a saying, I call it the one act play, and that's kind of what it's turned into. When the officers see the car, they try to stop it, and then they let it go. And it's just like a reoccurring act. It happens more frequently than I would like. And we're seeing it for motor vehicle violations as well, where you make the attempt to stop and they take off and then you shut down. So, I mean, and this is not unique to Newington. We're seeing it across the state. I would venture to say, and Councilor Ness could probably verify this. You talk to a lot of other chiefs throughout the state, they're experiencing the same problem. So it's not unique to Newington. Every community is being faced with the same thing. But what's concerning now is we're starting to see an escalation. You know, you have suspects now that are actually entering people's garages. Somebody has their garage door open and you have your car parked in the garage with the key fob in the car. They're actually entering into the garage and they're stealing the cars from the garages. So they're essentially now entering your home. We've had 2 incidents in town where the suspects were confronted by the homeowner and they were threatened with a handgun. So that's very concerning. That's showing an escalation. And, you know, I don't know if you heard on the news today that there was a car stolen in Hartford where the kids were actually, children were left in the car and the car was stolen. And that's the second one that I'm aware of. And that's, that's very troubling. When you got young kids in a car and the car gets stolen, and it can happen very quickly. Whether you're pulling to the garage and your child is sleeping in the car seat and you're going to run into the house to bring groceries in or put something in the house, and you leave the car and the child unattended in the garage, you just can't take that chance anymore. Or if you're going to a gas station and you're filling up your car and you leave the car running, or you leave the key fob in with a child in the car and you're running to pay for the gas that you purchased or to make a quick purchase, you can't leave the car unattended. You just can't take that chance anymore. And these are the things that have actually grown, and it's causing a lot of concern. I know it causes me a lot of concern. And it's just a matter of time, in my opinion, before one of these incidents turns into a tragedy, whether there's a shooting or a car gets stolen and there's a child in the car and the child gets seriously injured or killed. So it's a serious problem. We've tried some sting operations, and I don't want to tell you exactly what we've done, but we had one sting operation that we conducted over a period of 3 days to no success. We moved to another location in town, and what happened when we moved to the other location, we had a car stolen right in the area where we had conducted the sting operation. So it's kind of hit or miss. It's just that the biggest issues that we have is people leaving their cars unlocked. We're not being able to pursue them. They know that, and we had a chiefs meeting today, and I was talking to one of the police chiefs from a nearby community, and they actually had 2 incidents where the officer spotted the stolen car, tried to stop it, car took off, the officer shut down, the car stopped in front of them, the kids got out of the car and just started taunting the police officer. Got back in the car and left. They had another incident, same thing, where the officer spotted a stolen car, tried to stop it, car took off, doubled back, and then drove at the officer like he was going to ram the officer. So as we see this escalation, it's just a matter of time before something turns into a tragedy. We process these cars for evidence. If a car gets stolen, we'll put a hold on it, where if the car is located, we'll actually have it towed back here to the PD for processing, specifically for DNA. And, we've been able to get some DNA evidence out of some of the cars. But the problem is you got to be able to link that DNA to a source. And we have one case where we actually have a DNA hit on 3 stolen cars, but we don't know who it is. And that DNA has also been linked to several other cars that have been stolen throughout the Hartford region. And because the cars change hands so frequently, the courts are reluctant to sign an arrest warrant solely on DNA. And I'll give you an example. We had a car that was stolen. We had put a hold on it. Car was brought back here to the PD. And when it was brought back here to the PD, during the period of time the car was stolen, they had actually taken the car to have the windows tinted in it. So the car was stolen with no tinted windows. When the car got returned to the PD for processing, they had tinted the windows. So that just goes to show you how many hands are getting into the car. Did the person who tinted the windows, did they know that the car was stolen, or did they not know? You could argue both sides, but that's the uncertainty that lies with some of the DNA evidence about how often these cars are getting, traded around and changed hands. So that's kind of where we are right now. Again, it's not unique to Newington. It's happening all over the state. There are some stolen car task forces that are working, but the biggest obstacles that we have is, and I don't want to say that we should be out there pursuing cars, but they know that's the weakness. That's what gives them the ability to steal the car and then basically go. It's like they're home free. Once they get to the car, they're good. And it's the same thing with burglaries. I don't know if you recall, they had it was on the news, they had a Jeep that was actually found in Bristol dragging an ATM. Well, that vehicle was actually seen in Newington a couple hours before that ATM burglary. The officers on the midnight shift spotted that car, tried to stop it. It took off and they didn't engage. So it's like, you see the car, you basically just kick them out of town and they go into another town. So, I mean, and that's what we're dealing with. And it's tough. There's nothing more frustrating as a police officer to, your job is to apprehend criminals, and you make that effort and you want to do that to protect, the community, and you just got to let them go. I can tell you it is something that's very frustrating, but those are the restrictions that we have to operate under. And unfortunately, I believe it's causing a spike, among a lot of other things, in the stolen cars and car breaks.
Chief, thank you for all the information. I think it's good for everyone to hear. I think the community gets frustrated when things like this spike, and they need to hear that you guys are doing everything you can. And I think that residents that are concerned, we need to reach out to our state representatives and legislators, because the only way that this is going to change is if you guys are allowed to do a little bit more of what you need to do to stop these things. I mean, we have a group of individuals, mostly juveniles, but not all. I think you're right. Some are young adults who have learned that they can get away with it because your hands are tied, unfortunately. And so, none of us are safe. I can tell you, and Chief, you probably know, but we had a break-in at our house, one of our cars, several weeks ago now. And I think some of the other counselors have had similar experiences. So it's not, no one's safe. We're all dealing with the same issues. And, I want you to know, Chief, that we understand that you are doing everything you can as a department. But maybe it's time for us to start making some noise at the state level and see if we can get some support. And that might be something, Chief, that we can work together on in terms of drafting something to and I know you've had those conversations, but it never hurts to have us backing you up in that regard too.
No, I would appreciate that. I think that would be a good strategy to pursue. It's not just me, and I've done it. I've written letters and unfortunately haven't had a lot in return. But I think as a community, people need to start speaking up, and more needs to be done, because I don't hear a lot of talk at the state level about this problem specifically.
Exactly. And it is, like you said, it's not just our community, it is widespread. You talk to people in other communities, they're dealing with the same thing. So we really need to move it up and say, hey, we need some help here. We need to figure this out as a state, not just us as a community, but everyone together. So I see some other hands up. I apologize. Councilor Mankey, go right ahead.
Yeah, Chief, I'm the one that asked for this to be put on the agenda, and I can sense your frustration, probably more so than ever before. You're like in a fight here with one hand tied behind your back. We're asking you to keep our community safe. We're asking you to protect our property, but we don't give you the tools, or the state hasn't given you the tools to actually do that. But yet, when something happens, I'm sure you're the first one that gets to complain. How come my car got broken into? Where is the police officers? Where's the patrols? And it sounds like you're doing all you can do in the situation. Like you, my big fear is that somewhere down the road, someone's going to try to stop one of these break-ins, or someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to come around the corner and see somebody in their garage going through their car. They're going to say, hey, stop. And whoever it is going to run through them to get to the street, into the car, that's going to take them back away. And someone's going to get hurt. And then everybody will be up in arms, because now there's the consequences. But it's a shame we have to get to that point. I would support a joint letter, if whatever we can do to send something to Hartford, to this General Assembly, saying, this is a problem, and it's time they take a look at this, because someone's going to get hurt at some point. Rifling a car, stealing a car, those things can be replaced, but you know, if there's, like I said, if there's a child in the car or someone gets in the way, or tries to stop the robbery and gets hurt, that's a tragedy. So we need to do whatever we can do to try to prevent this, or at least sound a warning alarm that this is a problem. We need to address it. So I thank you for your efforts. I know it's frustrating for you. It's frustrating for us to hear all these complaints and all these break-ins, but I guess the best thing to tell the public is lock your cars. Don't leave your car unattended. You don't have to warm up your car at all. And if you do, make sure it's locked while you're warming it up. And if you do see someone going to your car, call the police and get out of the way. Don't try to be a hero and, you know, and stop them. It's not worth you're somebody getting injured. Thank you.
Well said, Councilor Menke. Deputy Mayor Pedrego?
Yes, my concern is at some point they're going to get bored with cars. They're getting bolder. If they're entering in garages, they're going to be entering into porches. They're going to be entering into open windows, whatever. I mean, where does it stop? I want to piggyback on what Mayor Del Buono had indicated in terms of us as an elected body. Would it be, I was just wondering whether it would be possible for the surrounding communities that you are dealing with, because I'm sure you're dealing with chiefs and other, Weathersfield, Rocky Hill, Berlin, whatever, if as town council or as mayors, we can draft something together rather than just, Newington doing it and maybe Berlin and maybe Rocky Hill, but as a concerted effort for this task force, if we can get a joint communique guided by what your recommendations are, Chief, as well as the other chiefs, on what needs to be done. I mean, it's not going to be very helpful to just send a letter and say, we're concerned there's an increase in crime. We need to give some, I think, concrete recommendations, and perhaps it is something about either revoking the legislation or amending the legislation or whatever, but perhaps if Mayor Del Buono or you, Chief, can reach out to other communities and we can get something going as a concerted, 3, 4, 5 town effort jointly to write something to our state legislators.
I think, the police aren't very popular up the Capitol right now. And I'll be honest with you. And I've been up to the Capitol and testified before various committees on behalf of the Connecticut Police Chiefs Association. So me writing a letter, to be honest with you, I think has little to no effect.
Right.
I think you as the elected body for the town are going to have much more standing in drafting a collective letter, whether it's, even if it's Newington, Weathersfield, Berlin has a group in drafting a letter and sending it to the elected official of the Capitol. I think you'll have more standing than if it comes from me, because my experiences in testifying up at the Capitol, I don't have a lot of good things to say. I think they're going to listen to you before they're going to listen to me. That's my opinion. And I think as a group, you working together. And then also when they have some of these hearings at the Capitol, I think it's important that, you as the town elected body go up there as a group and testify before some of these committees that are considering changes in the law or drafting new laws. I think you'll have more standing with the state elected officials than I will as a chief of police. And that's my belief.
Beth, is there something, can you reach out to some of the, maybe Chief Clark can give you the communities to reach out to, and maybe we can get a draft of a letter or something going and have the chief review it to see if some concrete recommendations.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for the chief and I to probably work together on drafting some language, and then I can certainly reach out to some of the mayors in the surrounding towns. And we can see what we can put together for sure.
Great.
It's not funny, but as we're sitting here, I literally just got a ring alert that says there's a video attached of some young people checking doors on a car in Newington. It says 1.6 miles from here. So it's happening as literally as we're sitting here speaking. Someone recorded it at 7:30. So it's really relevant. It's sad. And it's sad for me, Chief, to hear you say how the only word I can say is disrespected the police are right now at the state level. It just makes me so sad to hear that that's the way things are. And I know that you're right. And I can apologize to you. It doesn't make much difference, but we will do what we can to back you up for sure. I have lots of other hands up, so I'm going to go. Next is Councilor Minor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate all the efforts that are continual, Chief, and listening to radio traffic on a regular basis throughout the night. I hear the frustration over and over and over again. And it's not simply a property crime. By stealing someone's car might make them unable to get to work. It's beyond a quality of life concern because somebody is going to get hurt. You know, as you stated, it's escalated to the point now where if you confront them, you have a good likelihood that you're going to get confronted back to go away or risk harm to yourself. So I think, as Deputy Mayor Madraco stated and Beth backed it up, I think we need to do this collaboratively of every surrounding town that we have within our senatorial district to try to go at this and almost to try to gain the same statistics for each individualized town. And I think, Chief, you'd probably back me up on this, that it's probably equal to our statistics here on all our surrounding towns. Is that pretty good likelihood in your conversations?
Oh, yeah. We had a mid-state chiefs meeting today that I was at, and that's Newington, Weathersfield, Rocky Hill, Berlin, and Cromwell. And we had talked about this very issue. So they're seeing the same thing. And, the two examples I gave you with the car driving at the officer and then, them taunting the officer was in one of those mid-state communities. So, yeah, it's not just us, it's all around. It's statewide.
Yeah. And I think our best approach, at least for the Hartford delegation, would be all of the communities within their delegation. And to say, look, you may not want to address this, but here are the statistics, the people you represent in your districts, this is not acceptable anymore. And, I know we had two incidents back to back. One was Friday night in Weathersfield, where I think two motorcycles ran into the side of a car that was pulling out just north of Jordan Lane, both unregistered, took off. And then I believe Saturday night, correct me if I'm wrong, you had multiple cars racing up on North Mountain Road that ended up taking out a utility pole and a fire hydrant. So somebody's going to get killed. It's inevitably going to happen. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And I think we need to do everything we can within our power to say that this just is not acceptable anymore. Now, Chief, there's a different state's attorney now. Am I correct? Because I'm trying to remember you had a forum a couple years ago that was the departing.
Well, we have a new chief state's attorney. Our state's attorney in New Britain isn't changed. And then Fran Carino, who was basically been around for years as state's attorney for juvenile offenses, is retiring or has already retired, and that's a huge loss for us. So yeah, there's been some changes. But you know what it is? It's not those changes. It's the laws that need to be changed.
Right. Yeah, because I think at this point, with the majority of the juvenile facilities closed, and you're not even taking these kids into the facilities anymore if they're getting a parent to release to, where you're seeing some of these kids either same day or next day. Am I correct in that?
Correct. I mean, they closed the Connecticut Juvenile Training Center. That's been closed. It is virtually almost impossible to get a kid into detention. You need a judge to sign the order. It's very restrictive. These kids know it. And it's, like I said, it's extremely difficult to get somebody a juvenile into detention. The law has changed since 2017, and I believe it changed again, which made it even more restrictive in 2018 or 2019. So they just do not want these kids in detention, and that's fine. But if you're not going to put them in detention, then you need some other mechanism in place to control them. You know, you need to hold them accountable. You need to provide them services. And from where I stand, I don't see any of that happening. And these kids know it, and they're taking advantage of it. And I can tell you how far it's permeated down. I mean, you know, Chris, you listen to the police scanner and you hear us responding to kids, you know, 14 and 15-year-old kids on bicycles riding in the middle of the road and 10, 15 together. And, you know, the police officer tries to stop them and they take off on their bikes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's just permeated down. We're creating a culture that is, you know, it's something dangerous that we're going to regret down the road. That's my personal belief.
Exactly.
No, it's a sense of entitlement that there's no repercussions to any of their actions, and that needs to change. But I think as far as what we can do, I think our best approach, as you both said, is to go ahead on a multi-town and try to draft something up to say, here are our statistics, here are residents' complaints, fix it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Minor. Councilor Annis?
Thank you, Chief. That was very informative. Have you found that there has been an uptick because of COVID?
I mean, that's a great question. Here's what I believe is occurring. I think some of it, there's a lot of contributing factors. I think the three main contributing factors right now is the changes in the juvenile law, the reforms that were made over the course of a few years. I think that has something to do with it. I think to a degree, COVID has something to do with it, to the extent that the courts aren't hearing as many cases. The cases aren't being adjudicated. They're being continued because the court is operating with a very limited staff. So yes, I think that has something to do with it. And I also believe that the new police accountability bill also has something to do with it.
Absolutely.
So if you were to ask me what my opinion is, I think those are the three variables that are having the biggest effect on this. That's just my personal opinion. You know, these are things that I have not seen in 35 years of policing. Back, you know, 20 years ago, we didn't have these issues. And over the course of time, laws have changed that have made it more restrictive for police to do their job. And now we're starting to see the results of that. And that's coming from somebody that's been in a job for 35 years, that's been able to see the changes during that time and what's resulted from that.
Right. And I agree. I think, you know, when they did the juvenile justice reform, that had a lot to do with it. And then it just got more and more. And I think our juveniles don't know what respect is. They don't know how to respect the police and how to respect their elders. And I too agree. I think we need to do a combination of a lot of the surrounding communities and a letter to our legislators, and not only to our legislators, but to the whole delegation up there. Just to make sure it does get shared with each and every one of them with the stats of what's going on. Because it's pretty scary out there. And I hope people tonight take away the message: lock your car, lock your car, lock your car. Don't leave your keys in your car. Don't leave your keys in a window where somebody can see them and break into your home. Lock your garage. They break into your garage, they can break into your home. So just lock. You know, this isn't Newington where it used to be years ago, unfortunately. And hopefully someday it will be back to the way it is. But at this point, it's pretty scary out there. And thank you, Chief, for everything that you're doing for our town.
Yeah, just to tag on to what Carol's saying, I mean, and please don't leave stuff in your car that would entice somebody to break a window to get at it. Because, I mean, I haven't had that happen here, but my last residence, I was foolish enough to leave a tool bag in a car, and they busted out a window. The tool bag was $200, the window was $300. You know, so, you know, make sure you don't leave anything that would entice somebody to get into your car either.
Right, thank you. Any other council comment on this one? Councilor Nagel?
Just as a comment to follow up, lock your car, just like Carol Ann said, lock your garage. A former teacher, I used to be laughed at because I would lock up anything everywhere, every time, and it would go over to doing the same kind of thing at home. I think this is now sage advice for everyone to make as part of their non-thinking daily life, that you don't forget, you always protect what you have until some kind of solution can be found to limit this kind of activity that is, I agree, gone way out of hand. And I really appreciate our town police and the police in general for all that they can do under the circumstances in which they're tied by the present laws. And I do agree that a letter to the legislature and whatever might in some way help. But in the meantime, we all, and that means everyone, need to be very protective ourselves and of others in keeping things locked and keeping the chance of opportunity out of the hands of those who will take it in a moment's notice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nagel. Councilor Menke?
Yeah, could we just move this on to the agenda for our next meeting as old business so we don't lose sight of this? And I would just add with all the talk about locking your car, I would just add that if you do see somebody breaking into your car, just get out of the way, call the police, and don't try to stop them, or don't try to be the hero and get in the way, because someone's going to get hurt. Just get out of the way, call the police. They're the professionals. Is it? Even though their hands are tied, they're the ones that should respond, and not a citizen, because I'm afraid someone's going to try to stop someone from breaking into a car. Someone's going to pull a gun, pull a knife, and it's going to be a tragedy. So just get out of the way. I know it's a violation of your space and your privacy and your possessions, but it's a car and it's stuff in the car, but it's not worth your life trying to get in the way of someone breaking into your car. So lock your car, but if you do see somebody breaking into your car, call the police and don't try to stop them yourself.
Thank you. Councilor Minor?
Just one quick follow-up. Chief, is there a reason that stop sticks aren't being used anymore? Are they not allowed to be used anymore?
We can use stop sticks, but it goes along with the pursuit policy. You can't use the stop sticks. It kind of goes part and parcel. You can't use the stop sticks for pursuit unless it's for a violent crime.
All right. So if you were to get ahead of them and not pursuing them, you can't utilize them unless it's a violent crime.
The way our policy is written is if you can't pursue the car, then you shouldn't be using stop sticks.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other council comment? Chief, one last thank you. I appreciate all the information. Clearly, it's a passionate subject. We had lots of discussion on this. So please know and let your officers know that we are here. We stand behind you, and we will do whatever we can to work with you on this. I will be in touch so that you and I can work on drafting some things, and then I'll contact some other towns as well.
Perfect. Okay. I appreciate you having me, and I look forward to working with you on this. Thanks again.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, folks, we'll move on. Our next item this evening, we're moving in now into consideration of old business. And the first item there is health update, COVID-19. Charles Brown, are you still with us or no?
I think he left.
Okay, so it's all on you, Keith.
Yeah, basically, COVID-19 is on the uptick. There's no question about it. We have experienced at least one within the town hall, police department area employee. We're very cautious about what we're doing at this point with opening up anything anymore to the public. And I think we're going to be probably doing further reduction of contact with the public in general. Our employees are being cautioned to always have their masks on. We're hoping that we're doing everything right. We work with Charlie quite a bit. An area that has been of a concern for us was a library, but we've shut that down to only curbside pickup now. Bill DeMayo is on tonight with us because I wanted him to explain to all of you what's going on with recreation, because that's always a topic of discussion. And I know that he is working closely with Charlie, and I just confirmed with Charlie that Bill and Charlie are on the same sheet of music tonight. So Bill, if you're there, can you just update the council on what's going on?
Yes, thank you, Keith. It's so much is happening. We gave up Halloween, we gave up Thanksgiving, and now our office staff and professional staff is trying to plan for holiday season, Christmas. As many of you have seen, we're trying to put up the town-wide decorations. And it's just so difficult we plan, we schedule something, and then we reassess, and then we cancel it, or we modify it. The big hot topic is basketball, of course. And I've been on the phone with Charlie. I've talked to every Parks and Rec director that touches the town of Newington, the surrounding cities and towns. And generally speaking, most superintendents of schools are not allowing Parks and Recreation departments to use the school gymnasiums. So that puts a quick end to basketball. Now, for those of you who don't know, we have about 800 or 900 kids in our basketball program every year, every winter. We have fall basketball, which is ending this Sunday. But as we look at the COVID-19 numbers, it just raised to 6 points in Connecticut, which is just crazy, the highest ever since May. So we're seriously recommending, and with Charles's encouragement too, to not have basketball in the brand new community center gymnasiums. Unfortunately, we have this beautiful facility and we can't really use it at this time, but it's not about that. It's about public safety and it's about kids. And if the general public that disagrees with stopping competitive basketball, I say this to them, that in schools, they're trying these cohorts to keep kids segregated together. If in basketball, what happens is we could potentially take a kid from each of the 4 elementary schools and put them on the same basketball team. So that doesn't make any common sense, right? It goes against the rule of common sense. And I think we could definitely be blamed for spreading COVID to the school system, which we're not interested in doing. So we're putting a halt to basketball. We're going to finish up our adult programs, Tai Chi and aerobics and all that, but we're going by the governor's guidelines. We are, between the town manager and the Charles Brown and myself and our department, we know that basketball is allowed by the governor's guidelines as a minimum standard if they wear masks, if they have 20 players, 2 parents watching, etc. But we just don't think it's a smart move, and it's an unsafe move to do that. And Charles Brown definitely agrees and is strongly encouraging us not to go with competitive league basketball games. So that's kind of where we're at. Preschool staying solid because of reduced numbers and going by the governor's guidelines. But the Department of Early Childhood is in a crisis situation right now for preschool places for children to be. So we're following basically the same type of guidelines that the schools are using for that. We're going to end our fall season in approximately first week of December. We've planned 250 programs or so, maybe 300, starting in January, our next season. But we've have the caveat that whatever happens with COVID-19, we're going to reassess on a daily basis, and we'll make a decision in January what we're going to do. Mayor, you and I have to have a conversation in regards to lighting the lights downtown in the center of town. We have plans. We had intentions of having Santa Claus on a hay wagon going to all 9 parks in a small numbers and hand out candy canes and hot chocolate and take 6-foot away pictures. However, the health director he doesn't believe that that's a necessary item and doesn't believe that it's a good idea. So we're going to cancel that idea, trying to think outside the box. However, what we are planning is we have a girl in our office that's pretty good with technology. And I think, Mayor, if you're open to this idea, we're going to put you in a secret place with a with probably the chairman of the Parks and Rec Board and a button to virtually push the button to turn on the lights downtown. And then we'll Facebook it all over the place so people can enjoy that through the new virtual technology of the world. So those are our quick plan. I could talk to anybody tomorrow if you want to call me. I can give you more details, but that's a general, thinking on where we're going in the future with this until we get the vaccine distributed and everybody's healthy again. It's on the rise and it's getting really ugly. Not a pretty sight right now.
Yeah, Bill, this is Mayor Beth. I am certainly game for anything in terms of getting the Christmas lights on for everyone. So you let me know and I'll be there. But I appreciate your out of the box thinking, because this really is so challenging. Like you said, it's like the second you plan something, you have to stop and drop back 5 and punt and change it and figure it out. And, I appreciate everything you're doing. I do have one question. I've gotten a few questions this week about the rental of our fields to different organizations and how we're viewing that in terms of moving forward with some of the restrictions.
Right. We're going by the governor's guidelines. And for those of you who didn't know, the people that already scheduled fields by the governor's executive order, they were grandfathered in until Monday. So everything that Pop Warner ended this Saturday and adult football ended this Saturday. There will be no more 11-on-11 football games through the end of the year, December 31st. And so I think we're following all the guidelines that are provided by the governor's office. And we had staff people taking pictures, documenting everything, keeping masks, keeping 6-foot separation. I do want to make sure everybody's aware of this, though. Some people are sending pictures saying, look at these people, they're sitting together, even though they have masks on. By governor's executive orders, families can sit together at baseball games and lacrosse games and soccer games. So do please keep that in mind, that if you go with your spouse, they can sit together. If they go with their children, they can sit together. It's the families that they're not related can't sit together. So I know that's very difficult to keep in order, but I do want to bring that to everyone's attention so you're not giving out misinformation.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that. And that helps us answer questions that we're presented with.
Yep.
Councilor Minor, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just real quick, Bill, I know way back at the beginning, we had issues with the basketball courts and the skate park and everything else that had congregate groups going. How are you dealing with that currently? And do you have any plans of going back to your park ranger program again to just try to discourage it?
Yeah, good question. Right now, it appears that outdoor sports and outdoor activities seem to be accepted by the governor's guidelines. So at this time, they have not recommended closing parks or closing outdoor facilities. It's the indoor facilities that really everyone's concerned about. And it's this lack of turning over the air conditioning and the airflow and being able to open doors in gymnasiums when it's wintertime and losing the heat. So we have right now, to answer your question, we have no plans to start the ranger program again, although it worked really well in the March, April, May, June, July. But as soon as, if they ramp up, if the COVID-19 ramps up and the governor says close the parks, we'll certainly be ready to do that.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Okay. I don't see any other counselors' hands up. So thank you, Bill, for joining us and giving us that update. We appreciate it.
Okay, and if anyone has any questions through this crazy mess that we're going through, just give me a call.
Okay, and I look forward to finding out where my mystery location is. Florida would be great, but then I'd have to quarantine for 14 days. So we'll talk.
I've got to keep it a secret all the way to the last minute so you don't tell anybody.
Deal.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Keith, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or are we all set with this?
No, I think we're all set. It's going to be difficult. Just the 3 W's: wash your hands, watch your distance, and what's the other one?
Wear a mask.
Wear your mask.
Wear your mask. If people just do those 3 things, it'll go a long way to help the situation out. So,
Charlie Brown tuned out before he heard us say the 3 W's.
What?
Charlie Brown would be very proud of us. He wants us to spread the 3 W's.
W's.
Correct. So You remembered one of them, I remembered two of them. So.
I'll copy the clip out of the program and
The
send it.
most important one too, wear your mask.
Well, okay. No, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other council questions? We're all set? Okay, we'll move on. Next item is Town Hall project update. That's you again, Mr. Chapman.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about the problems that we're facing right now, and it deals with the old town hall, not the new town hall at this point. The old town hall is pretty much demolished. Everything's just about, wrapped up there, except for the cleanup. But one wall that used to serve as the west wall for the auditorium, the old auditorium, now is serving as the east wall for the remaining police department and the elevator area and the dispatch area. Well, what was found as they were demoing is that the wall that used to serve as the west side of the auditorium was never connected to the remaining portion of where the dispatch center is and the stairway well is. So we have a wall that's basically just balancing up there, and it's been, locked down a little bit, but it's going to have to be reinforced. There's going to have to be some materials ordered to do that. So it's going to delay some of the process a little bit, and it's going to cost more money to remedy that situation. But I've talked to Joe Harpy today, the chairperson of the committee, and he provided me an overview, and I can read you what he's saying. Basically, there were several options that were looked at by the committee and the architect and so forth, and they chose what is titled as option one, which is an estimated to be $25,000 to $26,000 additional cost for masonry work, steel work, and shoring. It'll take at least 3 weeks to complete, and they'll be using steel, which if it was eliminated could save time and money, but it's not recommended that we eliminate the steel. So it's gonna take a little bit longer for the process to be completed, but and a little more money. But once it's done, it'll be safe, and it'll be contiguous with the rest of the building, so they won't have this situation where the one wall is not connected to the building at all right now. So that's the latest, we'll say, challenge that we're facing. The rest of the town hall, we're still trying to work through some of the issues that have plagued the town hall since we moved in. And unfortunately, as been pointed out numerous times tonight, we're basically in lockdown. So a lot of people that would want to come to the town hall cannot come in. There are no pictures on the walls. There's no decisions made about where anything is going in that regard. So, everybody's just going to have to be patient. We'd love to have that opened up and have it all done, but it's just not feasible. So, but other than that, everything's good. We're getting into the heating season. We don't know how that's going to work in the building. We're optimistic it will work fine. Parking, we took care of the parking for the election night or election day. That worked fine. So everybody's cooperating, and it's frustrating for the public, but we need to keep our employees safe, and I feel that we're providing the best services we can provide under the conditions we're facing. That's it.
Thank you. Councilor Menke?
Two things, Keith. One, I want to thank you for your efforts, both in keeping the town hall safe and open, and also in our prior conversations on the COVID. This is an easy time, and being a manager of a town our size with our all of our concerns and peculiarities, I think is difficult, and I appreciate all your efforts to keeping us healthy. Just one quick question. Any update on the freezers in Human Services?
Yeah, I went down there today with Paul Boutot and looked at the situation, and I'm not convinced that the way it's being remedied is going to work. It was 81 degrees in the freezer room today. There's a thermometer that they have stationed down there. The rooms next to the freezer room quickly dropped in temperature where it was a 20-degree difference between where the freezers are and where the clients will be sitting waiting for service. And I'm not sure that going into the colder weather that's not going to be accelerated, where we're going to have more cold in areas that we need heat in, and then more heat where we should have some cooling going on. But at this point, I don't believe that there's any intention to vent that particular area to cool it off. So we're just going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But it was 81 degrees in there today. Not a good sign.
Right, exactly, because especially with needing the freezers for the holiday foods, you know, and not having a freezer is a problem.
Yeah, there has been some circuit breaking where, you know, circuits have popped.
Right.
So it's not a fixed situation at all. It's just band-aided together at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would think at some point there's going to have to be a vent to vent that room out to the outside. Or it's not going to work.
That's what was, I guess, before I got here, that was what was intended to happen, but it must have been cut for some reason, and that vent never got put in.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilor Nagel.
Thank you. Getting back to the police station and that particular wall, I think I know the answer, but just to make certain I do and others do as well, where are the monies coming from to do that additional repair to the wall? And are there any rooms between the auditorium and the police station that are going to be added or not? I know that or going to be included and not torn down. I know there was some question a long time ago about space that was there. If you could clarify those two things, Keith.
Yeah, the money for this additional work will be coming out of the contingency fund. And as far as additional space goes in that new area or the area between the police department and the wall, we'll say, there still is a dispatch center there. Whether the dispatch remains or moves back to that area is being questioned right now. It may be that the dispatch center will be moved permanently into the larger part of the police department. There are 3 or 4 rooms that will be existing when all of the construction and deconstruction is done. The elevator will continue to be there, the stairway, and the dispatch center, the room anyway, on the first level.
Do you have any idea at this point as to how those rooms might be used? I know it's too early to be specific, but I thought I'd ask.
Well, the thinking right now is that the dispatch center, as it was configured before they moved out, may become a area where the public may have more access because of the convenience of the parking lot and being on the first level, as well as the police officers. They may have a squad room there rather than up in the second floor of the police department because of convenience to their police cruisers if they had an emergency and so forth. But that's still being looked at and determined. But the likelihood of the dispatch center actually moving back into that area is diminished greatly.
Keith, I see Paul Batot has his hand up. He may have something to offer. Paul, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to speak to the elevator. So the old elevator will no longer be there. The existing elevator and the new portion of the police department will remain. That there was no construction around that particular area, and the rooms up on the top that the town manager was speaking to have not been identified yet. We do have 2 of them possibly identified for either radio communications or for data services in order to remove some of the heat load down in the existing communication room that's behind dispatch right now.
Okay, thank you for that update.
Thanks, Paul.
Councilor Minor?
Thank you. Just one quick question, actually, Paul, if you're on, do you know if those freezers have been serviced? Because I know that was a consideration that Rod Mortensen had brought up when he was over there, that might help reduce the heat load in there if those units were serviced properly.
Yes, they've recently been looked at by the vendor that's been supporting them for the many years that they've had them. The one on the right-hand side, I guess like there's two of them inside here, so I'll just use left and right. So the one on the right basically was offline. He came in, looked at that. That was low on Freon. That one's been recharged. After that one was operational, then there was additional heat load in the room. Then we lost the one on the left side recently, and that was been throwing a circuit breaker. So we had new 20 amp circuits put in to support those units. So he came out, looked at that one earlier yesterday, and came back again today, trying to determine what's going on with that. So we don't know if the heat in the room is causing the load on the unit, but he will be returning a third time to take a look at that. But he's looked at the coils, he's looked at the compressors, and the charge, and we're trying to troubleshoot and see what's going on. It might be life expectancy on those units, but we're trying to determine. Right now they're not being used because we don't have faith in them maintaining temperature.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. I don't see any other hands up, so I think we're all set with this one. We'll move on to new business. We already tackled two of
Mayor?
those items. Oh, yes.
I have spoken to Mr. Chapman earlier, so we do have one last piece of the old building. And I know the council members have been interested in that. So on the next two slides are the original cornerstone that was part of the original expansion from the 1937 building to the 1950 building. This was in the cornerstone of the gymnasium. So of course, erected in 1950. This is the piece found outside of it, showing some sort of a case behind that cornerstone. We don't know.
James, we're not seeing anything except for the memorandum.
My apologies. I had it on pause.
I thought it was just me.
I thought it was me too.
So let's go back there. There we go.
Wow.
There we go.
Well, that's the original cornerstone. Let me say it weighs a lot. And then the back side of it, this is that case that we've talked about when I've moved it and when it was brought in. We didn't hear any noise with it. So whether anything's inside of it or not is anybody's guess at this point. It may have just been a support piece for the actual granite stone that's on the other side. We won't know until it actually does get opened. So we just figured it would be a good thing to tie up with the town hall building.
Yeah, that's pretty fun that was found. And I know you said you knew it was there, but I certainly didn't. I don't know if anybody else did, but and I'm assuming we have that secured right now.
That is locked away in my vault. Nobody else has access, and I don't think they're going to get it out without me noticing.
All right, great. Thank you for that, James. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
James,
All
do you know
right.
if there was do you know if there was
Oh,
any
go ahead.
paperwork? Were you able to look at any paperwork?
I have not found anything yet. I've gone through the old annual report so far. I have some boxes that Board of Ed actually turned over to me of old news clippings, so I'm going to look through those. And I'm actually going to get in contact with the library to go through their old yearbooks for 49, 50, and 51, see if there's any reference to anything in those to say that maybe some students or staff or the town itself ever put anything into that. Maybe it was old plans for the expansion, who knows? So I'm still working on that piece, but unfortunately no solid evidence as of yet other than there was an expansion in 1950 with some federal funds.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Counselor Menke?
Yeah, I heard they're still digging on Oak Island, so maybe we should send this up to them and have those guys look at it.
Right at 9.
The premiere's on at 9.
9. Hurry up.
Poking some fun at the mayor. I like it. It's okay. I can take it.
Throwing some shade.
All right. The next item is, let's see, where are we here? The collective bargaining with the AFSCME contract agreement. There is action requested this evening on this. So we're going to consider waiving the rules after we hear the presentation from Mr. Chapman.
Yes, the AFSCME contract, we started negotiating, I would say in May or June of this year. The contract came to an end as of June 30th. We did delay negotiations for several months because of the COVID-19 until we were more comfortable on how we were going to negotiate. And something like this, union negotiations are tough to do Zoom wise, so we had to meet face to face, but everybody was protected and so forth. So ended up that we negotiated for 3 or 4 sessions, and the conclusion was by the union that they wanted to bring in a mediator, which I agreed with. We brought the mediator in, and through the efforts of the mediator, we reached an agreement that essentially not much changed within the contract. It wasn't in the best interest of the town or the union to change a lot of the language. We did change and do some cleanup of language. Now, James, do you have those? Yeah, okay. These are it. So there's not a lot there. But the removal of the Article 4 waste disposal area proposal was strictly the elimination of that title because we don't have anybody permanently assigned and full-time at the waste disposal area, and it dealt with that waste disposal area and references to our full-time employees, but we don't have any full-time employees down there, so that was eliminated. Article 4.1 was dealing again with the waste disposal area. It was just language that was cleaned up. Article 4.7 was to add grounds to a term of parks and highway, and we wanted to make sure that we separated recreation away from that term, so we added the grounds, so it would be parks, grounds, and highway rather than just parks and highway. Just real small stuff. Article 4.10 was strictly removing the word jet, which was an old term that was back in the 50s for sanders, for salt sanders that are used during the plowing. They used to be called jets. They were separate units that were slid into the back of the trucks, but those days are long gone. So we just cleaning up that language. We included it used to be what was called the weekend call-in for highway personnel, where they were responsible to be on the clock for emergencies and had a call-in pay program. But it really was for the whole week, but it was called weekend. So we just cleaned that language up. Next one was, again, just changing it from weekend to nighttime and weekends. Article 4.12 on number 13, removal of the beeper. It was the term beeper was in there because we didn't have cell phones when this contract was written years and years ago. So we no longer have beepers, we have cell phones. So we took the word beeper out and replaced it with cell phones. Wages, we went around and round on the wages for a while, and we found that we weren't making any headway. That was the sticky point. So one of the things that the union did agree to, which won't have any effect for the next 10 years on saving the town money, but it will from that point forward, which is the elimination of longevity payments. All the employees in the AFSCME union, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but those, there are certain employees that are qualified to get a longevity payment once they're here for so many years. I think it's 10 years. And it goes up every year by $100, I believe, and then it remains at $1,000 a year. That continues for the existing employees. However, it's discontinued for any new hires as of the signing of this contract. So it won't save any money for the town for the next 10 years because it takes 10 years to get your first longevity payment. So new hires won't get any of that in the future. But it's a savings down the road that someday the mayor and the council will be happy to see. But you're not going to see it in your budget life, we'll say. Beyond that, let's see here. What do we have? Wages again. We settled at a 2% for the remainder of this year, and then 2% for next year and the year after, and then a reopener on the final year of the contract in 2023 and 2024. I do want to stop though, and just, I want to ask the council if they would tonight consider changing the language in this particular line item. It says that 2% with no retroactivity, which means that the AFSCME employees would not receive any raise until this contract is approved by you. And when you approve it, it doesn't have any retro ability to go back to July 1st. And that's when they should have gotten a raise. That's when everybody else got a raise. But because we delayed the negotiations, everything got backed up. So I'm asking that that wording be taken out where it's at 2% retroactive back to July 1st, 2020. So they're treated fairly like all other employees have been this year. And it wasn't any employee's fault that the negotiations dragged on beyond the July 1st. It was COVID-19 that created that problem. So we're asking you tonight to just at least allow us to pay everybody retroactively back to July 1st at the 2% level. I think they deserve it, and I certainly would not want to have them treated any differently than all the other employees in the town. We're going along further. Article 4.4, hours of work for the clerical, technical employees. This was for the school department. They had requested some changes be made that better conforms to their needs, where in this particular case, the hours would be from 7:05 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. And the scheduling would be done by the department needs rather than a set. Currently, it's 8:30 to 4:30, whether we need employees there or not. So the school would like some flexibility to allow them to schedule their people when school opens up in the morning until school closes in the afternoon, and any other time they feel they need those employees there. So the union went along with that. Same thing with the transportation service employees, same type of a setup where they need some flexibility for their hours. And then the final couple on the holidays, there's been some confusion over the last 4 or 5 years on when holidays are recognized. I will say, and it's just a personal thing, that tomorrow the town employees and the school department employees are working, which is, I don't like that. It should have not gone that way, but that was done before I got here. What's happened is the schools are open, or with COVID-19 being Wednesday tomorrow, they're not actually open, but the schools are, the school employees are working, even though it's Veterans Day. So Veterans Day is no longer considered a holiday for the employees of the town, and it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So that language for Article 5.1 and 5.5 addresses that issue more clearly. And then the final Article 7 deals with wages again. And let me just look at that real quick for you. My mind is, that was proposal number 4. Yeah, what that is the union wanted to have a guarantee that any of their employees or any AFSCME employee would always be paid going forward at least 20% above the minimum wage. We have some staff right now that are getting close to being near the minimum wage, and the union felt that these people are valuable, and we agreed that we would never allow our wages to drop within 20% of the minimum wage, no matter what the minimum wage was. And right now, that doesn't cost the town any more money whatsoever. So we felt that was a fair proposal. And that's essentially it. So, we didn't get into, long-term hard bargaining and changing the world. I think this is a fair settlement. Other than I would like to make sure that they get their retroactive back to July 1st. And that's essentially it.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up for council comment or question. Councilor Minor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Keith, just one question for you on Article 7 on new wages. That is moving forward as the wage schedule increases for minimum wage. I think we're up to $15 an hour, somewhere around 23, I think, if I remember right. That was not in there beforehand. That's new.
No, that's new. It never became an issue until the minimum wage was being raised so rapidly as it has been. So the minimum wage is actually catching up to the low end of some of the employees that are working for the town. And you know, I think that all parties felt that, yes, we want to, if you're going to work for the town of Newington, you shouldn't be paid minimum wage. You should be paid what you're worth. And we agreed that that the employees of the town should never be within 20% of the minimum wage. The language is new and never been brought up before, but because the minimum wage has jumped so rapidly over the last, we'll say, 5 years and going on forward, it becomes a problem where if we didn't address this, eventually the minimum wage would be a higher than what we pay our employees.
All right, thank you. Apologize for the barking dog in the background.
No.
I'm surprised mine haven't done it yet, especially hearing that.
Mine is actually growling, thinking that there's a dog outside, listening to Chris's dog.
Deputy Mayor Boudreau, go right ahead.
No, thank you, Keith, for going through this point by point and answering an awful lot of my questions. Seems very comprehensive, and it does seem that it's beside the 2% wage increases, it's really not going to cost the town much, if anything.
No impact on the dollars. No. In fact, I will just point out that this negotiations did not involve our attorneys. We decided that I would be the chief negotiator. I had been available, but not necessary, and it worked out well. So we spent no money on negotiations as well.
No, it seems. I mean, congratulations. It looks like a good agreement both for the employees and for the town.
I agree.
Any other comments? All right, I'm just flipping through the packet to get to that motion. We need to go ahead and waive the rules first if we're going to go ahead and take action on this. Keith, can you just comment as to why we're taking action this evening and waiving the rules?
Well, again, it's the retroactivity. If you know, these employees have not received an increase this year at all, and you know, I want to get it done. The holidays are coming, and I just feel that if you would not object to waiving the rules tonight, we can implement this and be done with it, and everybody's whole.
Okay, and then either Keith or James, before we go ahead with this, do we need to amend either of the motions to reflect the change that Keith is recommending?
I don't believe you do. You know, it's a change. It's not within the resolution at all. Okay. It's only what the documents that we presented to you, and all I'm doing is James had made the correction already on what was presented tonight to you.
Okay. Councilor Mankey.
I'll read the resolution to waive if you'd like.
Perfect, thank you.
Resolved, the Newington Town Council, in accordance with Section 11 of the Town Council Rules of Procedure adopted February 11th, 2020, hereby moves to allow action on agenda item 8B to authorize Keith Chapman, Town Manager, to execute the AFSCME labor contract for July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Nagel. Any discussion on the waiving of the rules? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Councilor Anest,
Yes.
Councilor Braverman, You're muted, Councilor Braverman.
No, I'm trying to
Yep.
You're unmuted.
unmute.
Yep, you're unmuted. Go ahead. Oh,
That would be a yes. I saw the mouth move. Thank you.
Yes.
Councilor Bedrejko,
yes.
Okay.
Councilor Camillo,
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilor Donahue,
Yes.
Councilor Mankey,
Yes.
Councilor Minor,
Yes.
Councilor Nagel,
Yes.
Mayor Del Buono.
Yes.
Unanimously, Your Honor.
All right, so we've moved to waive the rules this evening. So now if someone could read the actual resolution into the record, please. Councilor Mankey.
I'll do it. Yep. Resolved. Whereas Local 2930 membership ratified the proposed July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2024 labor contract on October 31st, 2020. And whereas said ratification by the membership, the proposed contract would be considered for town council approval, and now therefore be it resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby approves the proposed AFSCME contract, AFSCME Local 2930 contract, July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2024, and authorizes Keith Chapman, town manager, to execute said contract on behalf of the town.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Nagel. Because we are waiving the rules, we will allow public participation on this, but first we'll have council discussion if there is any.
Second.
All right, I don't see any council hands up, so we will go ahead and open it to the members of the public that would like to comment on the resolution, if any. I'm looking in our participants window to see if anyone is raising their hand. As always, you can use the raise hand function in the participant window, or if you're dialing in, you can do *9, I believe it is, to raise your hand.
Correct.
All right, I don't see anyone raising their hand, so we will go ahead with a roll call vote.
Councilor Annis,
Yes.
Councilor Braverman,
Yes.
Councilor Bedrejko,
Yes.
Councilor Camillo,
Yes.
Councilor Donahue,
Yes.
Councilor Mankey,
Yes.
Councilor Minor,
Yes.
Yes.
Councilor Nagel,
Yes.
Councilor Nagel.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Del Buono.
Yes,
Unanimous, Your Honor.
wonderful, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to go ahead and waive that this evening. It sounds like it will really be beneficial to our employees. We appreciate that. All right, we will move on to the next item, which is the naming committee recommendation. We are considering this evening the idea of dedicating a street to former Chief of Police Richard Klett. And I will open that up. I believe, Councilor Mankey, are you the chair of that?
I have the distinct honor of being the chair of the naming committee.
All right, if you would go ahead and fill us in, thank you.
We did meet on the 29th, and we will bring forward a proposal as old business next meeting to dedicate Garfield Street in honor of Chief Klett. It was felt that Garfield Street is near the police station and is also where he served as chief, and also near the Board of Education, where he served as director of security. So it'd be apropos to name that street, or not name that street. No, we aren't changing the name of the street, just dedicate that street in his honor, in honor of the work he provided to the town, and also the work he provided both to the town and both to the Board of Education.
Okay, thank you.
So there will be a resolution at our next meeting to do that.
Okay, great. Any other council comments or questions on this item? I don't see any other hands up. Okay. I'll just quickly comment. Chief Klett really provided the town so many years of service, as you mentioned, both in the capacity as chief of police as well as director of security for the Board of Education. I think this is an easy one to consider for us. His many years of dedication to the town, and you know, with his passing, we had the opportunity to hear from so many members of the public and how he impacted their lives and the lives of our community. So, you know, I'm glad to see that we're considering something like this, and I appreciate the committee's work on this. And we will look forward to moving that to the agenda for next council meeting for consideration and action. Great, thank you. All right, we will move on now to resignations and appointments. Do we have any this evening?
We have none.
We have none.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on now to tax refunds. We have approval of the November 10th, 2020 refunds for an overpayment of taxes. Deputy Mayor Bedrejko, if you would.
Resolved that property tax refunds in the amount of $3,267.14 are hereby approved in the individual amounts and for those named on the requests for refund of an overpayment of taxes certified by the revenue collector, a list of which is attached to this resolution.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Mankey. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead with a roll call vote, please.
Councilor Anest,
Yes.
Councilor Braverman,
Yes.
Councilor Bedrejko,
Yes.
Councilor Camillo,
Yes.
Councilor Donahue,
Yes.
Councilor Mankey,
Yes.
Councilor Minor,
Yes.
Councilor Nagel,
Yes.
Mayor Del Duno.
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion passes. We will move on next to minutes of previous meetings. We had some technical difficulties in the past with receiving them. So you'll see this evening we have 4 minutes that we are considering for approval. We are looking at the September 29th, 2020 special meeting minutes, October 13th, 2020 regular meeting minutes, October 15th, 2020 special meeting minutes, and October 27th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. If someone could move to accept those minutes as written.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Annis. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Donahue. Any discussion? Councilor Nagel.
I have, with the help of IT, been trying to get things resolved so that I could receive these minutes. And I kudos to those who have been trying to resolve this problem, including taking my laptop in over several days. But over the last day or two, they have once disappeared once again. So some I may remember from having looked at early, and the most recent ones, especially if they were added today, I've not been able to look at. So I will just, out of honesty and fairness, abstain for all of them.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for explaining, Councilor Nagel. Appreciate that. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Councilor Anest,
Yes.
Councilor Braverman,
Yes.
Councilor Bedrejko,
Yes.
Councilor Camillo,
Yes.
Councilor Donahue,
Yes.
Councilor Mankey,
Yes.
Councilor Minor,
Yes.
Councilor Nagel,
Abstain.
Mayor Del Buono.
Yes.
8-0, 1 abstention.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next item is written and oral communications from the town manager. Mr. Chapman, do you have anything for us?
I do have a couple things. I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow is Veterans Day. There is a Veterans Day video that was created over the last week and a half to honor all of the veterans. It is now available on Channel 14, Frontier 6049, www.netv.org, and the town's website. It's an hour show. It'll begin at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, and it'll run every hour throughout the day into the evening until the Board of Education meeting occurs. I think it's a real tribute to all of the veterans, and I have to give thanks to those that created it on my behalf, which was Steve Parker, Patty Foley, Scott Allo, and Mike Delgado, all from NCTV. They did a great job, and you'll recognize some old footage as well as some new footage, and I would strongly encourage everyone to watch it and capture it, however, and probably watch it more than once. So that'll be happening tomorrow. And it was mentioned earlier by Bill, the display at the center green I've seen it. It is pretty remarkable. Certainly you want to stop by and see that as well. It's been taken to every school in town as well this last couple of days. Going on to other subjects, the Municipal Administrative Training Program that we started, the MAT classes. We have 37 employees signed up in that program. It is intended to prepare people for upward mobility and to provide good leadership in the future for the town. And it's been a very successful program. However, COVID also has hit that area. So we're going to change the way in which we've been doing the program. But the feedback I'm getting, it's working out extremely well, and it's not been offered since I was here 20 years ago. So I think it's well received and well attended. The annual leaf collection program, we're getting complaints about the dust. You know, it's a situation where we don't control the weather, but we have to get the leaves picked up, and we're going quickly picking them up because they're perfect for picking up, but they do make a lot of dust. But the rains are coming in another day and a half, so the dust will dissipate after that, and the process will slow down some because of the rain, but that's the way it is. We're fully into the leaf collection program. If you've already been picked up once, you'll get to be picked up again. Every location has at least 2 pickups every year. But get them out to the road as quickly as you can so you can get them picked up. Otherwise, we'll go by and then you'll be stuck with them. We did get an award from the state through the STEEP program for $128,200 for the replacement of the windows at the senior center. This was a great catch for us. It works perfectly with our plan. We've done the parking lots. We're now going to do the windows, and next on the list will be the HVAC system. And that senior center is going to be in pretty good shape when those seniors come back once COVID-19 is ended. So we'll have to put some of our money into the windows, but $128,000 was great coming from the state. So, and that's it.
Thank you. Yeah, I was really pleased to read about that STEEP grant money. That was a good find for us.
If I may, Mayor, I want to just mention that on the negotiations of the union contract, Janet Murphy, Heather from Shawnee, and Jennifer Macero Cook all participated as representing management. I did have Ben available. It wasn't necessary for him to be involved, but I did want to just express my sincere thanks to those representatives of the town that did so well.
Yes, great. Thank you. And extend our thanks too. And thanks to our town engineer for working so hard on getting us that STEEP grant as well. All right, next item is Council Liaison Committee reports. Councilor Nagel.
Very briefly, the library met yesterday, and as was mentioned earlier today, they've had to revert back to not having any browsing in the library, but they will maintain and go back to their curbside pickup for books as they had done in the past. This Saturday, there is also an outside drive-by event, and I would contact the library's website to find out the details about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Minor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly, Board of Fire Commissioners went through a assessment board process in relations to promoting our next fire chief. The results of those led to Deputy Chief Traumer being promoted to chief. There was a scheduled ceremony that would be inclusive of the entire department and the council for Thursday night, which by COVID-19 has now been minimized to maintain the standards set by the executive orders and the governor. So that will be a relatively small gathering of staff to perform the function, and I wish Deputy Chief Traumer well in his new position. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Minor. Councilor Mankey?
Well, I'm not a liaison. I just would report that the election food drive was a huge success this year. They collected probably twice as much food as they have collected any other past years.
Oh, good.
And that's a great benefit to the town and to the food bank. This is the season where it comes into where that food really makes a big difference. So just thank you to all the voters who brought food and made that contribution.
Thank you. I want to tag team on that. Last night on the Talk to the Mayor show, we had our Human Services Director, Carol LeBrecq, on, and she was explaining to us how differently they're going to have to handle the holidays. And, you know, they usually have an opportunity for people to come and kind of shop, so to speak, for gifts or for things that they need for the holidays. And they're not able to do that because of the COVID issue and the shutdown piece. So they are this year changing the way they're doing it. They usually take donations of items, specific age levels, that kind of thing. And this year they're really asking for donations in the form of gift cards because they feel like that would be the easiest way to distribute things to families to then be able to get what they need for their families for gifts or for food or for whatever they may need. So they are still accepting the food donations, but they're also accepting in lieu of physical items, they're accepting gift cards. Is what their preference is right now. So if you have any questions, feel free to call our Human Services Department. They can use all the help that we can give. But I just wanted to share that out because it's a little bit different this year than what they've been doing. All right, I don't see any other hands up, so we'll move on. Next item is public participation. So I will switch over to my public window. Any member of the public can raise their hand in the participants window, or if you're calling in by Zoom, into Zoom, you can use the *9 function. All right, Susan Mazzacoli, I believe you are first.
Hi, Sue Mazzacoli, 149 Harris Drive. I'm going to read my remark because I'm very upset. Earlier today, I remarked about asking about the mayor's pictures and how I had brought up that request at 2 different council meetings. Both times, Councilor Mankey's response is to bring up honoring our veterans in quote, not just mayors, unquote. I don't believe it should be one or the other. I don't know about other mayors, but Mayor Dominic Mazzacoli was a Vietnam veteran who died from ALS. ALS is known as Lou Gehrig's disease, but it is also known as the military disease. The majority of people who have been diagnosed and died with ALS served in the military. So please remember that there are Newington mayors, just mayors, who are also served in the military and are veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mazzacoli. The next member of the public is Ms. Lyons.
Hi, it's Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I missed the first public participation, so I didn't get to hear if there was any response to Sue Mazzacoli's comments about the town website. So forgive me, but if someone could tell me if there were any comments regarding that, I would appreciate it. I, too, who have often used the town website, stopped using it a few years back, unless that's absolutely necessary, because it's too complicated and confusing for me. All right, I'm 75 years old, and you may use that excuse that I'm too old and don't know how to do things like that, but I am pretty savvy with the computer when I need to be. I think with the hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been spent on technology in the new town hall, I would hope that you could find some money to somehow update the website. I know it was only in 2017, I believe, that it was done, but I think it was done internally. And I, as someone who used to go to the website and never goes to the website or hardly ever goes to the website, would appreciate it if it could be more friendly for not only seniors, but other people as well. The discussion has been on Facebook a couple of times about how it's hard to navigate, and maybe if there could be just some instructions given to the everyday citizen as to how to navigate it. Maybe there's things that we don't know about that would make it easier for us. The other thing I was wondering about as you were speaking of dedicating Garfield Street in Rich Kletz's honor memory, I think that's a wonderful idea. I was just wondering if there's been any updates on the streetscape project that was proposed for that area, and I believe the monies were received. I don't know if there's a time frame that those monies have to be used or not. And the other thing that I was thinking of as Susan was speaking about the pictures of the mayors and the other veterans that were brought up, I was wondering what the rooms that used to be dedicated to, for instance, Curtis Ambler, the Helen Nelson room, things like that in the old town hall, if there's any plans to name various rooms in the new town hall after them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons. I don't see any other members of the public with their hands up. So we will move on to remarks by councilors. Councilor Menke.
Yeah, I'm sorry if Mrs. Mezzacoli misinterpreted my words. I'm not saying one or the other. I think both are important. Both photos of the mayors who have certainly served this town as well as anyone else, but also photos of those who gave their lives for this town. I don't see them as one or the other. I see them as both inclusive. As far as naming the town facilities, the naming committee is looking at some way of recognizing people who contributed to the town in whatever capacity in a meaningful way. But if we start naming rooms, we're going to sort of run out of names. We're going to run out of rooms and have more names. So we're looking at some way to recognize those citizens in town have sort of been, gone above and beyond to make Newington what it is. So we're working on some kind of a proposal for that. And that'll certainly be discussed at our next couple of meetings to come up with some kind of a plan. But there is no plan yet to rename any room in the town hall for the foreseeable future.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Menke. Any other councilors? Just Ms. Lyons had asked if we had responded to Ms. Mezzacoli's concerns about the website. And Rose, there were a few members of the council that did express very similar concerns for kind of trying to streamline the website and how accessible it is, especially to try and get to virtual meetings. We had discussed that I know privately we talked about the fact that we want to try and streamline that and make it a little easier for people to find. So yes, we will be considering that with the town manager and staff to see if we can help out in that regard. All right, I don't see any other hands up. So we will, and I will, anyone? You guys want to stay in the meeting? No one's going to move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Wow, I thought you guys fell asleep. Thank you. Moved by Councilor Annis, seconded by Councilor Menke. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Good night,
opposed?
everyone.
No one's opposed. We stand adjourned at 9:13. Thank you, everyone, for your participation, and we'll see you next time.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.